Well, the NFL season's only weeks away, but what teams are the ones to keep an eye on? Let's roll. All right, what's going on, guys? My name's Antonio, and this is the All Around Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we are talking about my NFL power rankings early into training camp. Now, I will be doing a recreation of this once the NFL season comes closer. But for right now, I have loads of teams. I have top 10 teams in the NFL that I am keeping an eye on right now. So we're going to be going over my top 10 teams in this season, and we'll see how it goes from there. But if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's get this thing underway. Before we get into the top 10, I did want to throw out a few honorable mentions to some teams I did not quite make the cut on this list. A first honorable mention is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I do believe this team is going to be a sleeper team in the AFC because Anthony Richardson was absolutely balling out when he was healthy, when he was still a player. And now you bring in loads of new weapons, including Adonai Mitchell and loads of other guys that were from that team last season. But the Colts are going to be one to watch on. Another honorable mention I have is the Cowboys. Now, I just left them outside because the Cowboys, we all know that they're getting a lot of talk from their fans saying they're Super Bowl contenders again. But of course, we know they're not. But another honorable mention I did want to throw out there was the Baltimore Ravens. Now the Ravens I left just outside of the picture as well because even though they made the AFC Championship game last season, there's still a lot of questions surrounding the Ravens organization. Their defense is not as strong as it used to be, so I left them just outside. And then the second to last honorable mention is the loss is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I left them just outside because Trevor Lawrence was getting a lot sacked a load of times, and I know he has new weapons around him, which I do expect him to be a threat this year. We just need to see what they can do with what Trevor Lawrence can do with their new weapons, with Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., and loads of other guys. And then the last honorable mention I wanted to throw out there was the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams I just left outside because I do expect them to still be a little bit competitive for the NFC West. Even though Aaron Donald is retired now, they're still paying him. I never underestimate this team because they're always a thorn in my team's side, which is obviously the Seattle Seahawks, as you can see behind me. But those are my honorable mentions. But for now, let's jump into the top 10. At number 10, I put this team on here because I think they have the capability to be a sleeper and also made a lot of haters question themselves after their run last season. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers, when I saw this team, loads of us at the beginning of last season saw them as a diminished team without the GOAT, Tom Brady, as we all know. But when this team came on to the field, when this team showed out, they shocked a lot of people by not only winning their division again, but beating the Philadelphia Eagles in their first playoff game, which probably a lot of people expected because the Eagles were on a big collapse at the time. But then they lost in the second round to the Detroit Lions, which I had the capability to call that game, but of course it wasn't posted because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But anyways, the Buccaneers I do see as a tough team this year. Their defense, led by Todd Bowles, was the leading team in blitzing last season. I do believe that Baker Mayfield is going to show up again. He's going to be competitive for the AFC NFC South. He is going to show up and he's going to show out with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as his receivers. But we'll see what happens. But the Buccaneers sit at number 10. At number 9. Now, this positioning might shock some people, but I still have them in the picture. You got the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills, after losing Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and also along with other weapons, including Tre'Davious White, and also along with a few other guys, including Micah Hyde, who is suddenly still available. I don't know why he's still available. But the Bills, I do believe, are still a good team because you bring in Keon Coleman, who is a athletic player. He's very athletic. He can make plays happen, and he is an amazing receiver. And you bring in also along with Chase Claypool, who is very underappreciated. And you also bring in Marcus Valdez-Scantling, who's a two-time Super Bowl champion with their arch nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Bills, I still see Von Miller as a person that can wreak havoc. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Rams and the Broncos, or Donkeys as I like to call them. But this, I believe, is going to be a good Bills team. Josh Allen is going to know that he has to grow without the help of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis there to help him. So the Bills, I have at number 9. At number 8, now, this team took a big drop because of them losing in the biggest game possible. You got the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I know people are going to probably get on me, but hear me out. The 49ers lost a lot of key pieces, including their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, which they fired, which was a stupid move, in my opinion. But you also lost Eric Armstead, Chase Young, Ray McLeod, you lost a lot of key pieces for this team. But I do expect the Niners to still be competitive, even though they lost in the Super Bowl again, as for Crutic and usual. But the 49ers, I still see as a threat. I do see them winning the NFC West again because the Rams and Seahawks. I do see the Seahawks and the Rams being competitive with the Niners. But the Niners are just too strong. They are still one of the top teams in the NFC. So we'll see what happens. But the 49ers, I have at number 8. At number 7, you got the fastest offense in the NFL. You got the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins are put up at number 7 because they recently went out there and signed OBJ and to already a dangerous wide receiver trio, which is, of course, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle alongside him. But I do see Miami being competitive this year if they can play in inclement weather as per usual. But the one thing I like about the Dolphins is their two defensive edge rushing picks, Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara. Those two guys alone are really good in their field. Chop Robinson can wreak havoc on anybody. He can cause havoc anywhere at any given time. He was able to do it in his time at Penn State. And then Mohamed Kamara, I don't know if he has any comparison to the Alvin Kamara with New Orleans Saints, but I do know this: he is a great underrated defensive player, and I do believe Miami is going to be competitive and try to win the AFC East because they want to play in the sunny beach of Miami. So we'll see what happens. But the Dolphins, I have at number 7. But at number 6, you got the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Packers, they took a very big leap after letting go of their Hall of Famer quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, to the Jets, which he got hurt in his first 4 snaps, as we all know. But the Packers are better than they were. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually scared to go against them on Sunday night of Week 15. I'm actually legitimately scared to play this team because this team of the Green Bay Packers, they are so good. You got Jordan Love, who took a big leap by beating America's joke, the Dallas Cowboys, which we all know what happened there. But They also have great offensive weapons. You bring in Josh Jacobs, although you let go of Aaron Jones to your division rival, the Minnesota Vikings. But this, I believe, is going to be a great year for the Packers. I do expect them to compete with the Detroit Lions, and I do see them being competitive in the NFC alone because the NFC is growing, as we all know. But the Packers, I have, at number 6. At number 5, I put this team up here, even though they had a diminished choking job last year, including my team. You got the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Eagles, they went all in, probably more all in than the Dallas Cowboys right now in the NFC East, because they went out there and got great running back in Saquon Barkley. They went out there and got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back on their squad. You also have the signing of Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, and Kellen Moore. And you also bring in Bryce Huff and also Devin White on the veteran side. But you also go out there and do a great job at drafting once again by getting Cooper DeJean, Quinton Mitchell, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. But this defense is increasingly getting more talented. This defense is going to be feared next year, even though they had a slight, but that was Matt Patricia calling plays, which we all know he's a terrible defensive mastermind, very bad defensive mastermind. And Vic Fangio was with the Miami Dolphins last season as their defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens. But the Eagles, I have at number 5. At number 4, even though they didn't make the playoffs last year, you got the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals, they went out and got some weapons. They went out there and loaded up. The Joe Burrow's back after having a season-ending injury with a wrist injury. I've had a wrist fracture a few times, so I can probably know what that's like because it's painful. Trust me. But the Bengals, I do see them being a contender once again. Joe Burrow is one of the only quarterbacks to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, other than Tom Brady, who is, of course, retired. But Joe Burrow is back, and as long as he is there for the Cincinnati Bengals with him, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and countless other guys, this team is still and will always be with Joe Burrow a contender in the AFC because they are the kryptonite to the Kansas City Chiefs, which we'll have to see if that's going to still be the case next season. But for right now, I have the Bengals at number 4. At number 3, you got the Kings of the North. You got the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, we all know, went out there and made new uniforms, brought back the alternate black uniforms that we all know from the 2010s era. But man, those uniforms look amazing. The new uniforms look sick. I want to get that right out of the way right off the bat. But the Lions, they went out there and got some much needed help. You bring in DJ Reader, who is a great defensive run stopping beast, which I don't know why the Bengals let him go, but beats me. But the Lions, they are going to be a tough team this year. They are going to be back, and they're going to be back with a purpose. Because we all know the mistake that they made in the NFC Championship game by going for it twice on 4th down when you were in field goal range. I do believe that Dan Campbell is going to learn from that mistake and come in next season with a whole new strategy and everything. But I do like the picks that they made with Terrion Arnold and also Sione Vake. Vake is going to be a machine because he was not only a running back at Utah and also a safety, but he is amazing. He can stop anyone in his tracks. He is an amazing safety. I've watched the Utah Utes for some time, and I've watched Vake. He is amazing. And I believe the Lions got a steal in Mr. Sione Vake. But the Lions, I have at number 3. At number 2, Now, this team was a shock to everybody, including myself. You got the Houston Texans, the new kings of Texas. Man, the Texans, no one expected them to be 3-13-1 a season ago to then become 10-7 and win a playoff game against the Cleveland Browns, which we all know then lost to the AFC to the Baltimore Ravens. But man, this Texans team is probably more all in than the Dallas Cowboys right now. They are more all in than the Dallas Cowboys as far as anyone in Texas is concerned. But the Texans got out there and got three big names in free agency. You got Danielle Hunter, Stephon Diggs, and Joe Mixon, who are really big pieces for this team. And then you also go out there in the draft. You get Cade Stover, another great tight end to add on with Dalton Schultz. As we all know, he was recently with the Dallas Cowboys. But the Texans, they're going to be scary. They are going to be a scary team next year. They are going to be up there, and they're going to be out there with a purpose. With CJ Stroud balling the way he did last season, we're all expecting the same again. And the Texans are at number 2. And number 1, no surprise here. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, the back-to-back Super Bowl champion. Now, the Chiefs went out there and got a load of new weapons to add on with Patrick Mahomes, including getting Xavier Worthy, and also in free agency you got Marquise Hollywood Brown, and I mean, you got the situation, of course, going on with Rashee Rice. We're all expecting maybe to be suspended half for at least half of the season, if not all the season. I hope that brother doesn't get suspended because he was an amazing player, but it's probably trending that way right now after the recent incidents that he has been associated with in Dallas. He needs to get the freak out of Dallas. He needs to get out of there ASAP. But anyways, their defense is still strong, even though they let go of L'Jarius Sneed. That reminded me of Cam Chancellor when he made that play on Zay Flowers, which I was amazed by. And I called this game, by the way. Oh my gosh, it was insane to see that play call. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already. But, anyways, I do think that the Chiefs are going to be a contender to go and pull the three-peat, which we have all know has never happened. But this Chief team is going to be back. They're going to be back with a purpose. We heard them say that they are going to go for the three-peat. We'll see if they can do it. But to recap our list, Chiefs at number 1, Texans number 2, Lions number 3, Bengals 4, Eagles 5, Packers 6, Dolphins 7, 49ers 8, Bills 9, and the Buccaneers at number 10. But let me know what you guys think down below. Who are your top 10 teams that you could see being competitive this season? Because, man, I don't know about y'all, but next season, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But anyways, that's my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao for now.